Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever everybody is in the world. Just want to say a big thank you to Phil for the opportunity to give this presentation as well. And really great presentation then from Chris as well on the Reveal platform that Rob Bird Group are doing. And I think a lot of things in my presentation are going to pull a lot on what Chris has just said in terms of where 4D planning should happen, why we should do 4D planning and the benefits we get from 4D planning. As we all know, 4D planning has been around for a long time, but there's different companies that are doing it in different ways and implementing it at different times throughout the construction process as well. So I'm head of 4D planning for John Sisk. Been with John Sisk for about just over two and a half years. Look after the UK, so in terms of civils, building, rail, implementing 4D or getting 4D implemented. Again, right from tender stage through to construction on site. So what 4D planning means to Sisk, I suppose the key four pillars of why Sisk do 4D planning are the four blocks on the left-hand side. So it's all about validation. So does the plan work? So we get the most value, as Chris just said in his presentation. The most value from 4D is done before we even start on site. We want to have the most robust plan going forward, so it needs to be coordinated. And I think the old school message of 4D has always been, the tender presentation and the visualization, which again is great. But for me, the visualization and the pretty picture that comes out at the end of it is just a nice to have. The process that we go through beforehand in terms of coordinating the 3D BIM models, temporary works, exclusion zones, thinking about health and safety. You've got to pull all these different people, all these different things into the 4D environment, and it gives you almost a digital rehearsal of your projects before you even hit the ground running. I've got the little logo on the right-hand side of the screen there as well, and it really is fundamental to the way Sisk deliver projects. It pulls in information from everybody, so the program is no longer just a contractual document that it's got a duration and it's got a logic and it's got a WBS to it. It's bringing in information from operations, from planning, from commercial. So right from the start, when we're looking at tenders, the estimators will get involved with 4D. And then obviously within Sisk, we've got a DPD team, Digital Project Delivery team, which look after BIM and the whole BIM implementation, information management. So we pull all this information into a 4D environment, and it just makes sure that we've got increased certainty of delivery. So having all this information early on and rehearsing it's the same as anything. You rehearse it over and over again, you get to the best possible outcome that you can put forward to a client. And then when we've done all this, again, it benefits not only ourselves as a business, but it benefits the clients. And we're seeing more and more clients requesting 4D models and requesting to see a 4D plan. And I think this is just the way that the planning world is going in general, from a digital project delivery and a virtual design construction capacity. So a bit about the project. So I've talked about what 4D means to Sisk, and it really is at like the center of project delivery. And I want to show really just a real life example of where we've implemented 4D on a project. And the reason I've chose the Isle of Man Ferry Terminal project is because in the industry, we hear a lot that what benefit is 4D going to bring to a civils project or a highways project? They're very linear assets, but you could say the same about a building project. It's the same motion of construction, but again, every project is bespoke in its own way. It's got its own challenges. It's got its own risks. And Chris touched on in his presentation about surrounding buildings, local stakeholders to the project. You've got to think about all these things as early as possible. And I think that's where on the Isle of Man Ferry Terminal projects, we've really got some massive benefits from doing the 4D process as early as possible. So on the screen is just some images of what the project is going to look like on completion on the top left. So we basically got the site on the image on the right is how the site looked when we first got there. And we've done a load of archaeological works because there's some historical artifacts in the ground there when it used to be a ferry terminal in the past. We've got to do a load of investigation works, and then we've got to build a new terminal building and a load of infrastructure, drainage, comms, key services. There's a district heating main going through the site. So there's, in terms of risks on the job and coordination of activities, it's really critical to make sure the sequence flows correctly. If you can see my cursor as well, in plan, that is the terminal building, bottom right. So in order to get in and out of the site, we can only come in and out from this way. So the bottom left of the site is only one way in and one way out. A majority of the works that are going to happen is on the whole surface area of the site. So in order for us to build this terminal building on this corner, logistically, it's one of the most challenging projects that I've definitely worked on, not just because of its location, but just because of all the key interfaces. I described about we've had to do a lot of archaeological works early on, which has delayed it slightly. And there's some images there of some of the artifacts that were found in the ground. And all this has got to be cleared before we can start, digging drainage runs and putting district heating mains in. So when it comes to 4D on this project, again, the most critical point has been getting 4D implemented as early as possible. And I think that's where we've seen the majority of the benefits. The key thing with any of these things like 3D modeling, clash detection, and 4D planning is about having visibility about what's coming next. So a lot of the time when we're on site planning activities, or we've got a plan in place, if we hit an issue on site, the site team, the project team are only thinking about that issue. They're not looking 4 weeks ahead. They're not looking 6 weeks ahead. They're only just trying to resolve the issue that's there. I think what the 4D modeling and 4D planning brings to a project is that we have foresight on these potential issues that could potentially happen or could potentially become an issue. So on the screen there, you're seeing there's a constant information flow between the 4D model in Synchro, Aster Power Project or Primavera P6, whatever planning platform is being used on the project. And we have a constant monitor of a live spreadsheet as well, using Power BI to monitor these clashes. So every time we spot a clash or an issue that's within the program, and that could be a number of different types of issues. It could be tasks missing from the program. It could be a logistical clash where we've said we want to do some work in one area, but there's work going on in another area close to it, and it's going to cause an access issue. So the way the process has worked on this project is we've recorded these clashes, and then as we've moved the program around and resequenced it to get to the best solution, we've then gone back to the clash to check that it's been resolved. So this is almost a live 4D document that's just constantly evolving. And we monitor these to make sure that the issue doesn't arise again as the program evolves throughout the project. And I think the key thing with this as well is it just totally de-risks the project. It gives the project manager peace of mind. It gives the whole project team peace of mind. They've got clarity over the next 12 months. They can quickly look through the next 12 months and see, if there was going to be a potential clash when they're on site, we can look again in the model when we get nearer to the time and see if there's a potential problem arising in the next couple of weeks. And like the same as the reveal platform that Chris just shown, the biggest thing with this is visualization. And I think 4D has always been known as the pretty picture that can sell the dream. And the age-old saying is that a picture says 1,000 words. And I think in construction it really does. Whether you're new to construction, whether you're client-facing and you haven't got very much construction knowledge, the visualization brings the project to life. And I think anybody that hasn't got that detailed or that technical knowledge of the sequencing, when you've got something so obvious to put in front of people, and that I got straight away, they get exactly what you're talking about. And I think what we've seen as well is as soon as the 4D model is up on the screen, or it's on a laptop in front of people, or wherever we're doing it, especially during lockdown on Teams, being able to talk through a program in 4D, it's just made the whole discussion a lot easier, because people understand exactly what you're talking about. that brings us on really to when we do program reviews. So typically a program review would be, you know, thousands of lines of programs, especially on a project of this scale and value. You'd have thousands of lines of program. You probably have hundreds of drawings to sift through. And all the 4D model does is just bring all those bits of information together in the same place. And I wanted to put these images on the board because really it is at the heart of what how we review projects or how we manage projects at Sisk. I've been to the Isle of Man project numerous times, and to have the agent or the sub-agent and the project manager engaged. I've got the project manager making notes about, you know, potential issues that could become a problem on his projects, and he's got foresight for the next 12 months. And like we said, it's not just a contractual document. It makes the program. You know, everybody's responsible for that program. We're all building the job, and it allows everyone to have that say as well. So if people have got a different perspective on things, or they might have a better idea, it just helps people collaborate more. I touched on the feedback that we get from teams on site, and I think like Chris in Chris's presentation about the 4D at the Robert Bird Group, you know, everybody at Sisk is using the 4D model right from tender stage through to construction. And I think if it doesn't add value, or if it doesn't help them in their roles, it does just become a pretty picture. And I think that's why at Sisk 4D it is a big process in construction, and it needs to help the project teams. And that's the only way it's going to add value to project teams. Otherwise, it does just become a pretty picture. So I wanted to just put some quotes on there from the key people from the Isle of Man project. So I know they're a bit wordy, but I've tried to identify the key parts of those quotes as well. You know, communicating the logic behind the sequence of works, maintains cost and program. These are all the things that everyone wants from a project, and we feel at Sisk that implementing 4D planning as early as possible gives that project certainty, and it gives certainty of delivery, and it de-risks the program and the sequence of works. I'll just leave that up for a minute as well, just for you to read.
They're excellent points. I'm glad you're leaving this up for people to read. Good move.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot of promotion about, you know, the digital tools in the industry and the value they bring, and case studies about, you know, they've saved X amount of money, or they've saved X amount of weeks on a project. But until you get feedback from, you know, the people on the ground that are doing the work, and it's got to add value to them. That's the value for me. If it's benefiting the project, and it's, you know, with that spreadsheet that I showed on my previous slide as well, where we're tracking clashes or issues in time, I think that's where the main bulk of the value comes from, because they're real examples. We've all been on projects where those issues have arisen, and it's caused a lot of trouble on the project, and it just causes stress, and it's unwanted stress that people could really do without. And the 4D process highlights these issues as early as possible. And I think really the last thing as well is about the design part, where Chris mentioned that I work for a main contractor, being John Sisk, and we get a lot of value for 4D planning. But again, from the Isle of Man project as well, the design teams have been using the 4D to get an idea of how we're going to build it. And it almost reinforces design decisions. And we're seeing, like, where we've had to do some infills on the project. So we're doing some land reclamation. So we've got to do some sheet piling and infill some bits of land. There's some drainage that was going into areas within that land reclamation. But where it's programmed and when the design is ready and it's going to be built, the drainage was already built in these areas that weren't reclaimed yet. So it really helps it throughout the whole process, whether it be through design or construction. I'd just like to say again, thanks for the opportunity to do this, Phil. It's been great.